There's quite a few points of interest to be pointed out on the way down, but we don't have any guides on these vessels. We're just members of the crew, but it is the crew members on the River Thames who do the guides, because most of us have worked on this river all our lives, and we know this river like the back of our hand. So what I can do for you,
look at the River Thames, it's as dirty as Ravi Darya in Lahore.
Hands up if anybody would like me to do a guide. Well, I will do it, but I do have an added problem because I can only speak 3 languages: English, Irish and Scottish. So the guide will be done in some form of English that I speak, but I know that a lot of French people, got a lot of French students on today, Spanish people. When I go to Spain for my holidays, all the Spanish people can speak English and I can't speak Spanish, so there you are. So you might be able to get the gist of what I'm saying if you know a little English. The first thing I like to point out, and I think probably the finest piece of architecture in the whole of England, the beautiful Palace of Westminster. The seat of the government here in England. There's 2 large towers here. The first one with the clock face is simply called the Westminster Clock Tower. The larger one behind it with the flagpole is the Victoria Tower, and in between the two is the St Stephen's Chapel Tower. And I usually ask all our passengers, can any of you see Big Ben?
Yeah.
Well, of course the answer to that, I'm afraid, is no, you can't. Because contrary to what you all believe, Big Ben is not the clock. Big Ben is a 13.5-ton bell which chimes the hour inside the Palace of Westminster. That's the Palace of Westminster, the seat of the government here in England. Now as we turn the vessel around, ladies and gentlemen, soon to be on your right is the tallest, largest observation wheel in the whole world, the British Airways London Eye. Did you know, 9 years ago, when British Airways first laid plans to build the Eye here in London, everybody was laughing. They said it wouldn't work, it was a waste of money, they said. Well, they're certainly not laughing anymore. Everybody in the world wants one of these now. The reason they want one, in its first year, 9 years ago, when it was only £5 to go on the Eye, they took a profit of in excess of £55 million in its first year. Today it will cost you £16.50 to go on that Eye. So you imagine the money they're making now. It's 450 feet high, there are 32 capsules or pods, and that isn't just a random number, that represents the boroughs of London. There are 32 boroughs in London, and that wheel is constantly turning every day of the year except Christmas Day and maintenance days. And you can do many things on the London Eye. You can hire one of those pods for a private party, and do you know, ladies and gentlemen, 18 months ago they obtained a marriage licence. You can actually get married on the London Eye today. What you do, you get in one of those pods with your guests and the vicar, and as it goes up very slowly, excuse me, I was going to sleep. As it goes up very slowly, the vicar does all the marriage vows, and just before you reach the top, he asks you to say those immortal words, I do, and right at the very top, 450 feet over London, he then pronounces you husband and wife. And then I'm afraid it's all downhill from there. Beautiful building over here to the left hand side is Whitehall Court Mansions. Former home of the Liberal Party, one of our other political parties. But it isn't their home today, it's all been changed into luxury apartments and the Horse Guards Hotel. Oscar Wilde, Lloyd George, George Bernard Shaw, President de Gaulle and Dame Barbara Carlton all lived in that building at different periods during their careers. The bridge we're going under now is the Charing Cross Railway Bridge. This is the busiest rail bridge in London. During the rush hour, which we all know is in 1 hour, it's about 3.5 hours here in London, in the morning and the same of an evening. During that period of time, a train passes over this bridge in and out of London. All the
people who are watching, we just had
now once through this bridge, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to cast your eyes across river, just over here, on the north banks of the Thames. You'll be able to see very shortly a very large obelisk guarded by 2 Egyptian sphinxes. That stone, that column, is called Cleopatra's Needle, and that stone you're looking at over there is in actual fact older than London itself. It's over 3,500 years old, that stone. And just think about this,
How much did you pay for it?
Stonemason in the desert of Egypt was etching those hieroglyphics on the side of that stone. The pharaohs was walking the earth in Egypt. It was given to this country by a man called Muhammad Ali. He was the viceroy of Egypt, and he gave us that for Nelson defeated the French during the Battle of the Nile, one of the most decisive naval battles in Britain's maritime sea power. Just ahead of us we have a beautiful bridge. It's called the Waterloo Road Bridge. We call this bridge the Ladies' Bridge. The reason we call it the Ladies' Bridge, this bridge was completed and built by 75% of female labour during the Second World War, when most of our men was away fighting. The ladies of London put a nice clean touch. They built it in a very expensive self-cleaning Portland stone, so that when it rains in London, which isn't very often, the bridge actually self-cleans. Look how clean the sides are.
मुझे zoom करके दिखाने दे लोगों को, ये मेरा ship है, इसका नाम है Queen Mary.
Do you know, ladies, 2,000 women built this bridge.
2,000 women?
5 years, just small bridge.
You'll be able to see the ugliest building in London. It was voted in a magazine as being the ugliest building in London. It is in fact the one with the digital sign, the National Theatre. Now I've been in there, it's very nice inside, but you must admit it's rather ugly from the outside. Even Prince Charles, our heir to the throne, he doesn't like this building either. Prince Charles described that building as looking like a nuclear power station slap bang in the middle of London. Well, we all know that Prince Charles likes the older things in life, don't we? And if you look over here to your left, he absolutely adores that building over there, because that is Somerset House. It was built for the Dukes and Earls of Somerset. Later it was used by Admiral Lord Nelson as his war office during the Napoleonic Wars. It then became a registrar office here in London, a registrar of births, marriages and deaths.
Jubilee.
We call it Matcham and Dispatcham, and today it's been taken over by your friend of mine, Catcham, the taxman. The large white vessel ahead of us to your left is the Wellington. She's a sloop from the New Zealand Royal Navy, given to this country by the New Zealand government as a livery club of the Honourable Company of Master Mariners. To be a member of that very exclusive club here on the Thames, you would have to have been a sea captain on the high seas for some 15 years or more, and the president of that club is of course Her Majesty the Queen's husband, the Duke of Edinburgh. Look to your right hand side, and just down there you'll see a large red brick building with a tall tower with the stained glass windows reading OXO, O-X-O. This is a former meat cold store owned by one of the richest men in England, Lord Vestey. Now Lord Vestey made his fortune as a shipping owner with the Blue Star Line, travelling all over the world bringing meat products back to this country. When I was a young man, I actually served on two of Lord Vestey's ships, the Brazil Star and the Adelaide Star. And we used to go down to Buenos Aires in South America